Hey there, welcome back to Silver Lining Art. My name is Anish, and this week's video is going to be slightly different. Today, I'm going to challenge myself to do something that I'm not that good at, and that is painting white colored things. And because I'm not that good at it, instead of doing one big painting, I'm going to do four small paintings, and that's just going to help me maximize my own learning. So when it came to picking four white things to paint, for some reason, I don't know why, I came up with a flower, Taj Mahal, waves crashing on a beach, like the foam, and a wolf. So I haven't painted it yet, but I'm excited to learn something new. Let's get started.
So, in all the excitement of starting this exercise, I actually forget to hit record at the beginning. So, but you didn't miss much. So here I've put some masking fluid for the wave painting, and I made a small dot, the yellow dot for the daisy. That's like the middle part of the daisy, and then I sketched out a little bit of the wolf and the Taj Mahal. So now that you're all caught up, let's get started with painting white colored objects or paint. So I think I didn't realize this when I started this exercise, but now that I have finished it and I'm editing the video, I think there are two types of white colored things: things that are actually white in color and things that are not white in color but appear white. Let me give you some examples. So maybe the wall in your room is white, and you know it's white from your experience. Maybe you've painted it. You just know it's white because you've seen it for a while. But look at it right now. Is it white, or is it some off-white yellow color, maybe a shade of gray? What color are the shadows on the wall? But somehow our brain still registers it as white. And on the contrary, look outside. Is it sunny outside? Look at the leaves on trees. You know the leaves are green, but some of the leaves that are reflecting a lot of light coming onto them, especially when contrasted with a darker background, the leaves appear white. Or think of like ripples in water. They appear white in color, even though we know that it's actually probably not white, or maybe some kind of a lot of reflections tend to be white in color as well. So in general, I think it becomes like an artist's dilemma on how you end up depicting it, and I think it also brings I think the way you describe and paint white things also brings in a lot of perspective, because there is no one best way or worst way to paint white colored objects. So for instance, now I'm painting this wolf, and I'm starting the wolf is white in color in many of the reference photos, but as you see, it's like, how do I show that it is still white, but I have to paint it in some color, right? And that's when you can change the color temperature. So I'm using yellow and blue together, and so we know that no wolf is yellow and blue in color, so our brain immediately makes the deduction that this must be a white wolf, and the yellow and the blue are reflected lights from its surroundings. Also, out of all the four paintings I made, the wolf was the one I was least confident about. So you see me putting the background in, because that's what brings out the whiteness. It's called negative painting. So you paint around the object, and for some reason I just felt like I needed to put the background for the wolf just to convince myself that I am on the right track. And in hindsight, if I was more confident about approaching the wolf, I probably would have been confident that I am doing the right thing and my values are correct, because you don't want to go too light or too dark early on, and you sort of have to gauge how dark the shadows will be. So in case like now you're seeing me paint the Taj Mahal, in this case, like we all know Taj Mahal is white in color, it's white marble, but does it really appear white, or does the whole Taj Mahal appear white? Maybe only parts of it appear white and others have different colors. So I'm putting in like a maroonish shade of shadow in there, and this is sort of the smoother shadow which has a lot of reflected light, and then I'll put cast shadow in later. with the daisy, I think it's a completely different approach. You don't even see, so I've actually painted the petals. You couldn't even see it. That's how lightly I've painted them. And I wanted a few more daisies in the background. So I wet the paper and I'm putting some yellow in and just letting the color spread, and that gives it a more soft out of focus feel. And you will see the daisy will really pop up when I give it the background. With the daisy, I've thought of painting flowers like that for a while, so in my mind I have painted that daisy many a times. So I was confident in the process I was following. So unlike the wolf, I was okay to let these really faint lines and the faint shapes of color that I've painted. You probably can't see them clearly at all, but you will be able to see them once I put the background. And now that I've put the eyes and the nose of the wolf, all of a sudden our brain recognizes. It's so interesting how until I had not put the eyes and the nose, I completely thought I'd messed up the painting. And as soon as I put in the eyes and the nose, I was like, okay, I have a direction now. Now look at this. I'm negative painting around the Taj Mahal, and all of a sudden we start to make sense. Our brain starts to recognize what's happening, the direction of the light. The maroonish color I've put in is actually the shadow now, and it becomes much more apparent now that there is a background. I also want to take some time talking about the wave crashing painting, because that's the one that I've used masking fluid in, and that is essentially like a latex material that will dry off, and you can paint around it, and then you can scrape it off, and it will leave the paper white behind. Yeah, and the whole idea about painting around things or putting in masking fluid is that the white of the paper is actually the best white you can get, at least in watercolor. That's the whitest you can go. So it's best to paint around it. You can always use opaque paint or gel pens for a little bit, but that won't give you as white of an effect as paper white. And now I'm going to start painting in the daisies, and I'm wetting the paper. I did have a little bit of a challenge with it. I wish I was able to work a little bit faster, because the paper I had wet, it started to dry off towards the end, and all that was, I did wet it again later on. It just doesn't work the same. So that's again a thing. If you have a really good idea and a really good plan and you're confident, you work faster and your painting just feels more cohesive, and it feels like the whole thing belongs together. But if you work too slowly, sometimes it can feel too patchy and sort of just pieces put together. And you can see how already the daisy starts to pop out, and the little lines I had made earlier that you could not see, distinguishing the petals or showing the texture of the petals, you can see them more clearly. Another thing you might notice is that the videos gotten a bit darker, and that's because we had some clouds come in, and that is another thing that changes whites. Because this video is all about whites, I on purpose did not put a filter on to correct it, because I prefer to paint in natural light as much as possible. And natural light, the issue with this is it keeps changing all the time, and I think that's a part of the experience. And it's now you see me remove the masking fluid here and adding some more darks in there, and it's really interesting how the light and the time of the day affects how I paint. You would imagine that if I painted the same painting morning, evening, and afternoon, it would exactly be the same, but it's not, because I see things differently in different lights conditions, and that just adds more nuances and layers to painting white things. I'm really excited to have a more reasoning-based and academic approach to this topic, as opposed to what I was doing as a more intuitive approach. And I'm sorry if this video feels a little bit incohesive. There's so much to talk about and so many things going on. I will make more videos on painting white things for sure. I'm really inspired by this exercise, and I've learned so many things. It's even hard to articulate all the learnings at this point.
Hey there, hope you enjoyed this video. I learned so much through this exercise, and actually I'm very inspired to revisit the flower and the waves crashing. These two images really inspired me to paint something more like this. So I'm going to make part 2 and part 3 where I focus on these paintings and go into more detail and have a more refined painting. So if you want to see those videos and stay updated, make sure you subscribe to this channel and leave a comment below so I know who you are, and let me know what more you would like to see me tackle in the future. And as always, see you next time.